Found some explanations of what Kutāstha
Pranam Gurudev.
untouched by Lahiri Mahasaya. He says Kutāstha is beyond pleasure and pain, and it's tranquil. It is immortal. So Kutāstha would be the same as uh, a different name for the self. So when you meditate on the self, you meditate on at the Kutāstha. They who have attained the state of consciousness of the Kutāstha, of the self, are called devata, gods. Therefore, the gods whose third eye, that is, divine eye, is dissolved in the Kutāstha, are eternal. They are liberated while living, jivan muktas. When the inner eye is dissolved in the inner self, then the inner visions and revelations are transcended, and the seer becomes one with the ultimate self and attains absolute tranquility, transcending the state of relative dualism, consciousness of the seer, seen and seen. There's some people, as they start to progress spiritually in their sadhana, they start having visions, and the visions can be very interesting and very compelling. I have some who I know, to be honest, will message me uh, with their with the visions that they're having, and her visions are quite interesting. But you can tell by her explanation of them that they're authentic. She has lots of visions. Um, some mistake that for spiritual realization. It is spiritual realization. It's a high state of spiritual consciousness, is what it is. So it's a good thing, but it has to be transcended. Well, it doesn't have to be, but it should be transcended, which means you should go beyond uh, forms and figures and actions and all the various uh, things that you see and vision, and go further into the tranquility. As you go further into the tranquility, it becomes calmer and calmer and calmer, and uh, there's no visions there.
Pranam Guruji.
That's it. And Lahiri Mahasaya says if one does not practice Kriya through inhaling and exhaling tranquil air, one cannot attain the state of eternal tranquility.
Off कर दें.
if you're inwardly conscious, you don't suffer the humiliations and many thousands of different sufferings of the world. There's no suffering whatsoever in reality. But when you go outward into the world, there's all sorts of miseries. So people in general are
Tat Gurudev.
that people in general, meaning the majority of people are suffering to some extent or another. If they're not experiencing suffering due to something adverse, they're suffering due to some something that is obtained that makes them excited. And some people seek that excitement experience. It makes them feel happy. But of course, as you know, excitement or something new becomes old if you do it over and over. So what kind of happiness is that? So they look for something else. When it becomes old, and they look for something else that's new. And then when that becomes old, they look for something else that becomes new. And when that becomes old, they look for something else that becomes new. So they're like on a hamster wheel. They're going and going, but they're not going anywhere. Some people that are very successful at something that they do find happiness in their success, but it has no keeps them outward bound, so they're susceptible to misery also. I know of there's a friend of mine that was a professional baseball player, which means he was at in the major leagues, which is the big leagues is what they call it. And he was a professional in his career for in professional sports. Your careers aren't very long. I think he was professional until he turned close to 40. In your later 30s, and you start to approach 40, you're no longer fast enough or sharp enough to play professional sports. And so his whole life he had played baseball from little league, high school, college, and in the minor leagues and in the major leagues. So his whole life was baseball. But then when you retire, it's no more baseball. I mean, you can't play baseball anymore. You don't wake up in the morning thinking, which game am I going to play? What city am I flying to play? All right, I'm a baseball player. You're no longer a baseball player. You no longer have baseball to play. And that's difficult to adjust to. And who am I? What am I? What am I going to do? So that happens to a lot of people who are successful. Their success comes to an end, and they don't know what to do after that. It's not about making money. I mean, you make a lot of money as a professional baseball player, so he didn't necessarily need to change his focus to, well, I'm going to be I'm going to chase after money. Money's already there. He's already gone to the height of the sport. That's no longer there, and so they have to make adjustments. So if you think of anybody who's really happy in the world. If sometimes people think, that person is really happy, but I'm not happy. Why are they so lucky? Why am I so unlucky? They're they're not in any better position than you are. They're in the same position that you're in. There's nothing different about it. They're experiencing the same thing that you're experiencing, and they're going to experience the same thing that you're going to experience.
Pranam Guruji.
Untouched. So the only way you can be more successful at something in the world is to apply yourself more and more outwardly into the world, and whatever success you have is going to uh, uh, dwindle and become less and less meaningful. And so, why do people century after century after century continue to do what others have done that doesn't bring satisfaction? Well, it's because it seems like if you're looking outwardly into the world, that's the best that we can do. But nobody feels at peace in this world. Whatever success they have, they don't feel peace. So it seems like it would make sense that people would contemplate this more, but they don't. At best, they encounter some religious group, and the religious groups don't. It isn't something that they contemplate. And if it's a Christian religious group, which is the one I'm familiar with, their eyes are on Jesus coming back, the return of Jesus, and living a good life so that they go to heaven, and after they die, this is what their focus is on. That's quite shallow also. Live your whole life with the hope of going to heaven. What about right now? What's the meaning of your life right now? And what is heaven? If I was going to go to heaven, I would want to find out, if possible, what heaven is like. What are the characteristics of heaven? And if I'm waiting for Jesus to come back, what century is he going to come back? Am I going to be leave this earth? Am I going to die before he comes back? So that doesn't make any sense. So somebody said, well, when he comes back, he's going to raise everybody from the dead. So it doesn't matter if you die or not. And these all seem quite silly. If one does not practice Kriya through inhaling and exhaling in the body of Om, that is, with the help of tranquil air, one cannot attain the state of eternal tranquility. So, as he say, if one does not practice Kriya through inhaling and exhaling through the nose, as he say, if one does not practice inhaling and exhaling through the mouth, he says, if one does not practice Kriya through inhaling and exhaling in the body of Om, what is the body of Om? Well, the body of Om is in this area, but it's not the body. You can feel it through the practice of Hamsa, or Hangsa, when the breath becomes less and less and less and less and then comes close to stopping. You're still inhaling and exhaling, but not noticeable physically in the breath. You're inhaling and exhaling in on is what it feels like, because it's still a stroking feeling. So it's those who are outward bound receive suffering. Beyond these two states of inward and outward, it's a state of consciousness free from speech. In other words, the seeker becomes one with the Lord. In achieving eternal realization, he becomes silent. There's nothing. There's nothing to speak of. There's nothing to announce. There's nothing to defend. There's perfect tranquility. Tat, that is Kutāstha, he is the eternal being. Nobody has the capacity to destroy him because he is omnipresent. And when everything in this world is from him, who will kill whom? The strange thing is that one eternal being is uh, accessible, meaning you can be conscious of and one with, and um, and uniformity with as you participate in the world and living in the world. And most people would have, if they have religious training, they would have no idea what this means. If they have spiritual training, the majority would have no idea what this means. It's kind of a secret, isn't it? Only those that have the capacity to experience can understand this. The physical body is decaying as water bubbles decay. So long as the air or breath will be, it will continue, and then it will decay. But water is Brahm, the ultimate self, has no decaying because he is eternal being. So we know every single thing of this world decays. Every single thing. If you don't make an effort to maintain a house, it will decay. It'll start to the seams will start to dry out. Water will start coming in. Uh, Wood will start to decay, and the beams will start to sag. The foundation will start to sag a little bit, and then trees and plants will start growing in the little nooks and corners of the house where wind has blown some dirt, and that'll bring about further decay. Then eventually it'll fall. There's a lot of houses in this historic district of town that were made back in the 1830s and out of wood, and those that haven't been maintained, but they're falling down. But houses are made to be strong, durable. Cars are made out of premium materials that are strong, that uh, will keep you relatively safe in an accident. So they're made, and they're out in the weather. They're out in the storms, the rain and the rainstorms and the wind storms. But if you leave one to sit in the sun, it'll start to fade the paint, and then eventually it'll burn a hole in the paint, and the paint will start lifting, and the paint will start to be removed, and then eventually the without the protection of the paint, the water will settle on the metal, and the metal will start to rust and start to dry rot. In our body, we see our bodies changing, and when we're young, our bodies start changing for the better. They start getting bigger and stronger, and when she reached the age of around 50 or 60, then the opposite starts to happen. Your body starts to get the bones start to get a little weaker, and the skin becomes less resilient. So you start to have wrinkles, and the body, little by little, starts to decay. Same thing happens with every creature that has a body. I've watched my three dogs since they were young. I didn't have them when they were babies, but they were young. I found all three of them, so I think the youngest when I found them was probably 4 years of age, and now the two of them reached the age of 17, and then they died. It's about That's the outer limits to the age of a dog. And then the dog I have left, Zip, is 14, and uh, I found him when he was really young, and so I watched him slow down. He's the one that would always jump the big 8 foot tall fence. He can't jump that fence anymore. He can't even get in the car. I have to pick him up. So as athletic as he was, I watched him get older, and he's also starting to lose his hearing.
Guruji.
All three dogs, that was the first thing that they started to lose, was their hearing. And in human beings, I've noticed older people that I know around here, they're starting to lose their hearing. So the hearing is starting to go. The elasticity of the skin is starting to go, and my skin is starting to sag a little bit. So try to think of one thing, just one thing in the world that uh, this doesn't happen to. Happens to fishes, happens to oceans, happens to mountains. The Appalachia Mountains, where I used to live, uh, they're older than the Himalayas, and they're worn down. They're still mountains, but they're worn down. Everything wears down, and everything uh, eventually goes back to the elements. And the elements, I suppose, started with stars, right? The, the makings of the earth. Brahma has no decay at all. Doesn't age. never will. That's the reality that you can know. You can know today. And you can connect with, and you can be one with. And it doesn't have to be way off into the future. There's a lot of Kriya yogis, those in Kriya yoga, that say it's will take a long time before you can experience samadhi. It'll take a long time before you can have self-realization. It'll take a long time before you have God realization. I'm not sure where this idea started. I'm just recalling all the books of Yogananda's talks. I'm trying to think of any of his talks that have ever said this. I don't recall any. Maybe you recall one. So uh, I don't know why it would take a long time. All the stories, even the ancient stories, say that if you uh, have the good fortune of meeting a Satguru, um, that you can have the vision of God very quickly. There's many stories like that I heard when I was young, and 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 can be found in the old scriptures. He is eternal being and is unparalleled, meaning there's no other. Um, how can there be a comparison if there is nothing other than Brahman? How can you compare it to anything? You can say, well, it's like this, and it's like this, and it's like this, but you can't convey what it is by uh, verbalizing material things. Therefore, your work is to practice Kriya Yoga. Go on practicing Kriya Yoga. These are the words of Lahiri Mahasaya. He whom you think of as killer is Kutāstha. He whom you think is dying is also Brahma. You do not know of these two. Nobody kills, nor does anybody die. And just contemplate that for a moment. Um, your birth, you don't know where you were before your birth, and then your life up to this point, and sometime in the future, your death, meaning your exit from the world. And yet none of this is happening to you. It's just an appearance, like a dream. You're, you you weren't born. You don't die. A worldly person will say, yes, you were born, and we made it legal. We put your birth certificate um, notarized, and then when you die, we'll have a death certificate notarized. Well, human beings have done this, not God hasn't done this. God doesn't recognize your um, birth or your death, but we do. Uh, there's a lot that we don't recognize, but we recognize that. But what part of us is it that recognizes that? We can say our intellect, our brain, our belief. We we've seen people, we've seen birth, and we've seen death, and so we imagine that we were born even though we don't remember. And we imagine that we will die because everybody else has. So we imagine that will happen to us. And that will happen to the body. Why, why, why should we fear death? We didn't fear birth. Well, after we were born and became old enough to think of such things, we don't fear birth, even though uh, being born was probably, if you were able to think of it before you were born, you would probably kind of dread it because it's not an easy process. So uh, if we knew we were going to be born, if we knew others had been born,
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
if we knew what the process of being born is, we would probably fear that also. So it's like we fear death, and yet once born, we want to hold on to it. We we don't want to lose life. We think that life is wonderful. Um, but if we had the ability to think of it and know of others that have been born before we were, like we do in death, we probably were fearful of it. And but now we're in the world and we're happy. We can't imagine leaving the world. We don't want to leave the world. So don't you think the death of the body will be the same? I think logically it makes sense. It would be the same once the body's dead, and once we're living wherever it is that we're living, we're probably going to be perfectly happy there. We wouldn't want to go back to our former life. So, no, I'm fine here. I don't want to go back to that former life. So why are we so attached to it now? Or what part of us is attached to it? Or maybe we're not necessarily attached to it. He has no birth, and he is eternal and omnipresent everywhere. You should contemplate that more often, that God is omnipresent. Wherever we are, God is also there. Where is the space to be born? Where is death for eternal consciousness? All is Brahma, the ultimate self. And how could there be change from one thing to another? It cannot be so. What you are seeing as manifestation, that is only appearance. It is only form. So everything that we see is an appearance. It's form. When we're a baby or a young child, that was appearance. They would look at you. Let's say you're a young child, so you're conscious of such things, and they would look at you and they would say, "Oh, what a cute little child you are." And so you would think of yourself as a child, and then they would say, "Oh, what a handsome young adult you are." And so you see yourself as a young adult, and then they say, "Oh, what a nice old man," or what a happy old woman. And then we think of ourselves as an old woman. And what if all throughout your life, what if you knew yourself for what you are? If you could just zip back to your beginning and know yourself for what you really are, and then never lose spite of that, never lose consciousness of what you are. For the entirety of your life, all the years that have passed up until now, wouldn't life be quite different, wouldn't it? You wouldn't have made the mistakes that you made. You wouldn't have had the miseries that you've had. You wouldn't have had you would have had an entirely different attitude about the things that happened to you in life. Things would still happen to you in life, but your attitude about them would be different if you knew what you are uh, throughout all of your life. And then God is self-caused. Nothing caused God. Something caused our family. Something caused our uh, physical body. Something will cause uh, something will cause our death. But nothing caused God. Just contemplate that. And God is everywhere, which we can believe that because energy is everywhere. And God always will be. There'll never be uh, death. God will never die. Back in the 1970s, I don't know who started it, but I think it was a hippie thing, and someone would wear T-shirts that said "God is dead," and some had signs that said "God is dead." I don't know who started that, but what a silly thing to say that God is dead. I'm alive, but God is dead. He is self-caused, eternal being, never kills, because by which will he kill? Veda, by whom one knows, says eternal being, that is, he who knows the eternal being has become one with the eternal being. He has no birth or decay. How will one destroy him? So that would be one way to realize the self or to realize God, wouldn't it? Just find that one thing that doesn't decay. Be in search of that. Well, one thing you know for sure, there's nothing in the world that is without decay. There's some things that live for hundreds of years. There's certain trees that live for hundreds of years. There's a particular tortoise that lives for hundreds of years. But is there anything in the world that doesn't decay? So you could start searching for God that way, or you could realize, well, I've seen enough of the world to know that everything is going to decay. So maybe I should search and maybe I shouldn't search in the world for what I want. You come to that conclusion. Well, then where should I search? Um, some spiritual philosophers say I should search within. I should go within. That's the one place I haven't been. Well, I haven't been to outer space, but some people have been, and telescopes have been, and stars are being born and stars are dying all the time. So if I went if I went 100 trillion light years from uh, out into outer space, I don't think it would be any different. It all seems to be the same as this world, birth and death. So where would I go? Where would I find that which is eternal? Well, in Kriya Yoga, the teachings of Kriya Yoga, not Yogananda, but the teachings of others that teach Kriya Yoga, they would say you go within. And if I was told that, I would say, well, how do I do that? And they would give me some techniques on how to go within. And you've practiced the techniques. Have you found through the practice of the techniques, all of you have practiced the techniques long enough? Have you found uh, contentment? Have you found something approaching contentment? Meaning, of if you're seeking the ocean, have you come to where you smell the salt air and you feel the ocean breezes? If you smell the salt air and you feel the ocean breezes, then you're going towards the ocean, aren't you? Have you heard the waves crashing against the shore? And you know you're really close, but you still haven't seen the ocean. If you know you're approaching the ocean. So through some meditation techniques, and they don't have to be Kriya yoga techniques. They can be any meditation techniques. You can start to approach uh, quiescence. You can start to approach the true self, that which never that was never born and never decays. So let's say you're meditating and you see some inner light, and the inner light is changing, it's swirling, it's evolving from silver to golden to blue, purple, white. Um, is it changing? Well, if it's changing, it isn't true. But waves that hit the ocean, they change, and they're coming from the ocean. The smell of the salt air changes. Sometimes it's mixed with the smell of the seaweed. Sometimes, very oftentimes, depending on what town you go to in the ocean, like I'm thinking of Carabel, which is I would pass through. It's a little fishing village. So from my house, I would go through Carabel on the way to the St. George Island, which is where the big ocean would be on the other side of the island. You'd smell fish. So if you start to smell fish, then you know you're approaching the ocean. Sometimes you don't smell the fish, but you do smell the salty air. And so, sometimes you can taste the salty air, put your tongue out and the air falls on your tongue and it tastes salty. But myself, I like to go swimming, so I didn't stop. When I started to smell the ocean or hear the ocean, I didn't stop there. I wanted to go all the way to the ocean so I could jump in the water. That's what I love to do. Why would I, when I started to smell the ocean, why would I stop and not complete my journey? So Kutāstha, the inner self, Kutāstha is the inner self. That's clarified. Some people have asked, what is the Kutāstha? Where is the Kutāstha? And so this answers that question. That Lahiri Mahasaya says Kutāstha, he's referring to the inner self. It cannot be cut, burnt, wetted, or dried. This is what Krishna said in the Gita. He is eternally present there in the form of Adam, and hence ever stationed and eternal. So he's very, very minute where we find him. He cannot be expressed through the mouth. So you can't tell somebody what Kutāstha is. You can't tell somebody what God is. You can't tell somebody what the self is. You cannot express Kutāstha through the mouth, but only by self-understanding. So that's what's referred to as knowledge, is understanding. I found as I progressed, as my realization progressed, my understanding progressed. So realization is also understanding. It's not possible to think of him. It's not possible. For then there will be two. So when you think of God, you think about you bring things into the field to create an image, but that isn't God. You're just creating an image of God. It's not possible to think of him, for then there will be two. But it is possible to think of the form of Krishna. I could make a painting of Krishna, and then you can think of that. But you can't think of God. God doesn't have a form. It's not possible to change him because he is in everything. Knowledge, realizing this fully well, there is no necessity to think. Meaning, when you have knowledge, understanding, there's no need to think. It's superfluous. There's no need for it. When you think of things of the world. It's not necessary to think about God because you can't think of him. Even if it is known that he is born every day and is dying every day, there's no need to think, because thoughts are problems. That's an interesting way to put it. The Lahiri Mahasaya says thoughts are problems. Whenever there is birth, there is death. Whenever there is death, there is birth. So there's no need to think. When you die here, you'll be reborn somewhere else. So you never die. Your body will process death, but your soul will never die. And you being soul were born. When you find yourself here, go back and think of your earliest memory. And I can go back and think of early memories, early memories with the help of my father as a professional photographer. So he took pictures of everything. Took pictures of myself when I was just a little baby. So I got baby pictures and then toddler pictures when I was able to start to walk. And so looking at that photographs over the years, it would kind of jog my memory, kind of enhance my memory. But try to think of your earliest memory. What was your earliest memory? And how old do you think you were when you were old enough to have memories and to be aware of memories? Um, the dog that I have now, Zip, since Emmett died, he's let Zip become an inside dog, so he doesn't have to be by himself. And when he does go outside, he found out that if he goes to the window on the side, he can look into the house. And if he looks into the house, he can see some movement in the house. And so he'll go to that window and he'll start barking. And he knows if he starts barking at that window, that I'll go and open the door for him to come inside the house. So so every day he'll do that. So that's a memory. That would have to be a memory. Come to this window, start barking, and then I'll be let into the house. He remembers it from day to day. Now, if he were to go and live in someone else's home for several months and then come back, he uh, he probably would have forgotten that. In other words, it was a memory that he probably would have forgotten unless it was reawakened. What is religion, according to Lahiri Mahasaya? Religion is to practice Kriya Yoga. That's religion. In the unmanifested body, there is the manifested God, Ishwar. Then, if the physical body dies, God uh, does not die. Hence, why this thought? Someone sees, talks, and hears this surprisingly, but does not like to know or realize. People don't put any effort into realizing. They'll put effort into everything else, but not to realizing. The entire universe is in the body. Realizing this, there's nothing to think. Your religion is to practice Kriya, concentrate on it, because the warrior has no work, has no religion other than to practice Kriya Yoga. A warrior is one who practices Kriya Yoga, abandoning the expectation of the results of the practice. I understand the logic that somebody in practicing Kriya Yoga would be wanting results. What would the reasons be? Well, one would be to prove to oneself that Kriya Yoga works. Does it work? Which, if you have to prove to yourself that it works, that means that you also think that it won't work. You think that it will work, but you would also have to think that it won't work. And what? How can you practice something if you have doubts about what you're doing? And how can you really, really practice it if you have doubts as to what you're doing? We see a lot of people, because I meet a lot of people. I see a lot of people who've been initiated into Kriya Yoga, and then they stop. And I met a lot of people who practice Kriya Yoga, and they're not happy with the results, and so they think, well, it's the person who initiated me. It's their fault. It's not my fault. It's their fault. They're not tuned in. They're not tuned in with God, so they give me a bad initiation. It's never their fault. It's always somebody else's fault. So the person initiated me isn't in tune with God very well, so they gave me a bad initiation. So let me go to somebody else who's better. Let me go out into the world and find somebody else who's better, that can give me a better initiation. And then they find somebody who they think is better, somebody who's tuned into God. And they still, after the excitement of initiation dies down, then in the day-to-day life where you practice Kriya Yoga, continues day after day, and they don't find the results they're looking for, then they think, well, this person is not good either. I got another bad initiation. This person also isn't in tune with God, so let me find another person. And they do. And I know some people have done this. They've been initiated. I know some that have been initiated 3 times, and I know a few that have been initiated 5 times, maybe even perhaps 6 times. What of what use is such a person? That must be the worst uh, uh, kind of life to live. It's really, really sad. Um, almost as though what is hope? What hope is there for such a person? Uh, how can they ever have faith in Kriya Yoga? How can they ever trust the process of Kriya Yoga? Will they ever? Probably not in this lifetime. They probably have to start over again without the memory of so many different initiations, looking for what they can't find. Now it should be very well understood that before you're initiated, what 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 it's all about, the ins and outs, and obstacles, and what is success, and how do you know that you're approaching? How do you know that it's working? All of that should be understood before you're initiated. It should be discussed, and then the person that's initiating you should take the time to find that you understand uh, what the process is and what's happening. And if they're initiated without that understanding, then if they don't have the results that they're expecting, then they think the initiation is bad. I don't, I'm trying to think where did that start? Where did the thought start that you would have a bad initiation? Um, I don't think there's anything bad about any initiation. I'm trying to think why would that thought even have started? Who would have started that originally, and then started to talk to others about it, and then they in turn talk to others about it? Well, I think it would have had to been begun with people that are in competition with others when it comes to Kriya Yoga, meaning wanting to increase their numbers, um, wanting to increase the size of their their group, the thought that I have a superior initiation to others that have inferior initiations. In other words, worldliness. Those are all the things that happen in the world. And so, if others are told that, they're just simply told a worldly story. In that story, like gossip gets spread and continues to be spread. Good initiations, bad initiations. I read when I first started doing this. I was started to read comments and stories, and some of the Kriya Yoga groups. One was devotee to devotee, which is still a Facebook group all about Yogananda. And it is said very clearly by those in the group that you can only have Kriya Yoga initiation through self-realization fellowship only. There's no other place. And so they firmly believe that. In reading the comments and reading the posts, it was clear that they had that was their principal thought, because you can only have it. One girl commented that she received initiation through Swami Kriyananda through Ananda, and that she didn't have any results. And so then she took initiation through self-realization fellowship and had fantastic results, implying that that's the true Kriya Yoga, and that Ananda is not the true Kriya Yoga. And this is a completely worldly system of thoughts. I have the real one, you have the fake one. Or I have the fake one and I want to get the real one. These are all worldly thoughts that have nothing to do whatsoever that pertain to Kriya Yoga. And yet people believe these things, people that believe in the world and worldly things, and live an outer life of Kriya Yoga with all of its symbolism and activities, and yet never realize Kriya Yoga, never actually practice Kriya Yoga. The key to progress is yourself, is your sincerity, and especially being rid of all of this type of bigotry and fault finding and criticism. You have to be open and full of faith and praying to God for His truth to be known by you, not through a group, not through a book, but through God, who's omnipresent. And so I read lots and lots of stories like that, and found out that many people believe that, and they won't even listen to any uh, uh, anything about Kriya Yoga that doesn't come to that organization. Everything else is false. And that's the first time I'd ever been exposed to such a thing. I never even thought such a thing was possible. So when I was in India, I was invited to give satsang at Ananda, evening satsang at Ananda, and I said, "Yeah, sure, I'd love to." And then I started hearing some rumblings of questionability as to, in other words, I started to hear that some people were really against me coming to give satsang, which I was surprised. I had no idea. This is when I first started to do this work. I can imagine why. And they were almost on the verge of anger that such a thing would even be allowed. I never encountered anything like it. Um, everywhere that I'd been, everything that I'd done, if a swami or a yogi uh, uh, comes to an ashram, if they would usually be silent and observe or participate, and then but sometimes they would be asked to talk by the guru or by the swami in charge of the ashram, because they would recognize that they had uh, spiritual realization, so they would be asked to share their satsang with their group. Uh, that could be a completely different type of yoga, um, not 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 even the practice that the guru or the swami taught in the ashram. Everybody respected and acknowledged sadhus, and everybody uh, respected and acknowledged the yogis, and so it was one big family of those loving God, not little families that like I'm the best family, you're the worst family. And, but that's I found that had become prevalent. Um, Certainly didn't come from Paramahansa Yogananda. It was all man-made, made by people. But if there was a guru, meaning if Yogananda had stayed in the body, none of that would have happened. Wherever there's a guru, there's uh, equality, there's love, there's acceptance. It isn't partial to one person over the other.
Guruji,
Yes.
uh, when this happened, was Swamiji there, like living at that time?
Oh, when I was asked to
Which,
talk?
yeah, which year was this?
Oh no, he had already passed away. No, I have no doubt if he was still living, he would have said, "Absolutely, come talk." Uh, I, 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 I'm absolutely positive he would have wanted me to come talk. No, that was after he left his body. That was in Delhi. It was in the Delhi Ananda headquarters in Delhi. They became real vehemently against me coming to talk. I was on the verge of hate. It felt like.
Yeah, I think I have also seen they became very insecure uh, after Swamiji's passing. They're not experimenting, they just do what was being done. Guruji, I have a follow-up question also that um, I remember you saying that there were people who said something to you, like the devil or something. Um, how is your attitude towards them? Like, do you take this to heart, or the next time they come, you are totally normal, or you maintain a distance? How do you, uh, like, do you become cautious around people, or you just
What was
take it
I
as it
missed it?
comes?
I missed the first part that she said that some people what I missed that part.
Somebody's called you devil at some point,
A demon?
um, a demon. Yeah, they had called you. So, if the same person was to come, would you maintain a distance? Do you become cautious, or you just go as it is going? Like, do you forgive and forget or move on? And why am I also asking is that, like, in my particular life, if I feel people are taking advantage or hurt me, um, should I forgive? Like, and it's not also about forgiving. I think I forgive, but should I forget or be cautious? It's like maybe go to another world where they are not there and have your peace.
Never. People have called me a demon, and uh, quite a lot. Uh, but I've never in person. So I've never been with somebody that called me a demon in person. I don't think anybody would dare do that. Uh, so it's just they would tell other people that I'm a demon, but they never told me in person. So um, people that said derogatory things about me um, doesn't make any difference to me at all. I've had Mahatmas say derogatory things about me. Uh, when we went to visit Mahatma Fakiranand, who I knew when I was 16, and I knew him for years, and he was really harsh with me. Archana was there, and said some really uh, mean things about me right to my face. I mean, he's one that'll say it to your face. He won't say it to somebody else. He's not afraid to say it to your face. And that could, to have things like that said to you from a Mahatma would be a real powerful. It can really hurt you, uh, make you doubt yourself, make you feel bad about yourself. Um, I have no doubts, so it never made me doubt myself. It never made me doubt uh, the path that I'm on. Um, so it, it didn't bother me in the slightest, even with him in front of me, throwing things at me and threw things at me. Um, it didn't bother me at all, not in the slightest. It's simply because I know what I know, and I know what I know to be true. And so any any type of criticism uh, that doesn't bother me. Now I don't know if most of you don't know the whole story, but I've had uh, Archana knows the whole story. I think she might be the only one that was there in the early years. Uh, but I was probably betrayed in the worst sort of way, uh, lied to, um, and lied about openly to others. Even letters written about me to all of my friends. Letters written to all my friends. Uh, really, really bad things, terrible things, and uh, that shocked me. And I was truly shocked by it. But uh, being shocked and then hurt, being hurt are two different things. So I was hurt in the extent that somebody would uh, stab me in the back, but I wasn't really. It wasn't something that I dwelled on. Um, the letter that was written and sent out to all of my friends. Um, the letter was given to me to read it, and I didn't read it. I didn't even read it. I had no interest in reading it. So none of it's in my mind, in my memory. Uh, But even that didn't hurt me. I wasn't hurt by it, even though it caused a lot of distress to other people. And I would say that the majority of people that letter was sent to, the majority of them left me and never came back. Most of them. But you know, there's been lots and lots of new people since then. But I'm not unused to that sort of thing. I've been everybody at some time has been stabbed in the back in different situations in life. If you haven't done enough, if, if you haven't done enough to you get kind of immune to it. And I have lots of people saying great things about me too, and that also doesn't bother me. Sometime I'll tell you the whole story because it's a really interesting story. I mean, it would take longer than we have here. It would probably take 45 minutes to tell the story. But I probably should tell it just because it has a lot of lessons to learn. I won't use any names, but the story itself is interesting.
Sure, Guruji. Guruji, just when you say bother, one is that you don't get bothered at that time, but later on, or the question I have is, do you support them in any way, the other people? Because what happens is they might be in your circles, like, and today with social media, everybody is in a circle mostly. So do you um, think about them, wish them positive, support them consciously, subconsciously, or you say that maybe not my world. Like if they don't want so, or they didn't want it earlier, so why should I bother?
Uh, people like that, understanding your question, um, I don't go out of my way to avoid them, but I don't have anything to do with them. So even if I'm in if I continue to be with them at meetings or whatever, um, I would just leave them alone. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I might be cordial and acknowledge them, but I wouldn't go out of my way to do it. And I wouldn't. I wouldn't engage them in conversation. I would just, if they came into the same meeting or whatever it was situation, I would. If they came close to me and we were looking at each other, I would acknowledge them uh, with a smile, but I wouldn't become involved with them in any way, then or in the future either. And it would require, if they're in the wrong, the only way you could continue to have a relationship is they would have to uh, acknowledge uh, that they were wrong, and then you could go forward. That would be a sort of repentance. You know, like if I in the world, if I believe something about somebody, because I had heard something about them, and so if somebody asked me about them, I would say, "Oh, they're I don't know myself, but I've heard that they're bad, that they've done this and this and that, or just that they've done this and this, and these are bad things." So myself, I have a bad impression because I've heard bad things about them from other people. Uh, that that uh, is a bad way to live. You should never uh, repeat anything bad about other people, even if they've done it, even if they've done something bad to you, and you know, and even if it's hurt you, you shouldn't tell others about it. Unless, of course, it's a legal case, then you would have to tell your lawyers about it. But people that you know in common, so let's say that person's a friend of yours, and they're friends with your other friends, and they do something bad to hurt you, uh, I would keep that to myself. I wouldn't tell others about it, but I would keep my distance from them, even in a group. If we continued to meet in a group, I wouldn't interact with them in any uh, 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 love uh, in any expressive way of uh, love or affection. I would just really kind of sever myself from them emotionally. People can make mistakes, and people can say things about you, and then realize that they made a mistake, and they can repent. They can feel sorry about it. But usually, if that's sincere, they'll come forward. They'll come to you and say, "I just want you to know that I was wrong about you, and I told others about this, and I kind of contributed to this wrong that was done to you, and now I realized that I was wrong, and I apologize." If that happened, then I would forgive them. I would say, don't worry about it. It's no problem. Let's live for today and forget about the past.
Gurudev, is hard to forgive when you see their faces all the time. You know they done you wrong. And they done you wrong because they...
No, it's not hard for me. And you have to live with people. So it can happen in families, for example. My brother expressed nothing but hate for me my whole entire life, and spread rumors about me. When you come to visit my parents, all he would do is talk about me, all the bad things, all the failings, lies, just outright lies about me. And I continued to see him. Didn't bother me at all. I'm talking about really bad things.
We must have the same brother.
Well, no, it's. I have confidence in myself. I know myself, and I know when I'm wrong, and I know when I'm right. So why would I let? And I never defended myself. When all these different things he would say, I never defended myself, and I never tried to correct him either. Just ignored it.
Hard to ignore when they could constantly just stumble on you. It's hard. It's very. I mean, I cut them off out of my life, but it's still, because we live 10 minutes away from each other. We're in the same part of the community sometime. And it's like my son, I saw him after 3 months, I think, last week. He came because of the Mother's Day. He changed his faith. And it's a big deal, him becoming, changing his faith and marrying faith. But find out I met my own son, and he was going crazy because he wanted my dad, which is grandpa to my son, he wanted to see Himanshu and he wanted to see Ashley, but then he was pissed. He's like, how could you let your child be Muslim and you change him and you adopted him like this? Just see him and just move on. I can't.
When you say your child is an adult now, right?
He is an adult. He's 25 years old. He's not a baby. He's going to be 25 on July 3rd. But
he's an adult. If he has if he has a grievance about it, have him go to your child and talk about it. Don't talk to me about it. He can make his own decisions now.
Yeah, but I'm the
If my
bad mom,
children,
right? That's why my kid changed his faith, because if I was a good mother, he wouldn't have done that. So that has going back to the same thing.
that's just stupid. It's just not true.
We both know that, right? But how would you explain this when somebody's just
You
yelling
You can't explain stupid. You can't explain stupid things to a stupid person. They don't have the capacity to understand. And that's just stupid. That's not even intelligent.
So how are you supposed to behave when you are around that community or you see them?
Be friendly and go about doing whatever you do, and those events are together. There's other people there that you get along with.
Of course. This
Yeah.
is like you just see them only holidays, right? Like Diwali, Mother's Day, Christmas, like those holidays, rituals, and then, because then you feel guilty because I'm a parent and then he's my father and then he has a family and I'm the older one. I'm supposed to bind it together for many years. Now I no longer can do that because it's just like I don't have patience to be humiliated over and over for something is not my fault. So
Well, do what you want to do and follow your guidance that comes within. Don't. I mean, you know by now that your parents don't have any special wisdom that you don't have, and so just listen to them or acknowledge them. Hello, goodbye. And don't try to change them, and don't try to uh, explain yourself. Never try to explain yourself, and just let it roll off your back. It's no big deal. It's don't let it upset you. I don't have any. There's lots of people that have misunderstandings about me. I mean, my whole entire family has not understood me my whole life. So what? I don't care if anybody understands me. If I'm trying to make somebody understand me, then that shows you right there that they're not able to understand you. And what's the I never understood what was the value of having somebody understand you anyways. Why would we try to? Why do we want somebody to understand us? I never wanted my parents to understand me. I never wanted anybody to understand me. I'm trying to understand things myself as I was growing up. So I'm trying to understand that. And I'm not interested in other people trying to understand me when I don't even understand myself. And now that I do understand myself, I don't. I would only talk. I only talk about such things to people who are interested in such things, in spiritual things. If they're not interested in spiritual things, then I just be myself with them. Meaning, I'm. I just be nice to them. Unless they're mean to me. If they're mean to me, I'm not going to be nice to them. And if they're really evil, destructive people, I'm going to be. They're not going to like my response. They're gonna wish that they hadn't done it. I can make a person's life really nice, but I can make a person's life really miserable too, if I want to.
Because sometimes people just take your kindness for, just keep pushing. Again, when it comes to your father, right? Because according to the culture wise, we're supposed to respect him like a god, right? Whatever he says, you're not supposed to back, not even say a word. You say that we should go to left. No, we should really go to right. No, we should just go to Sida. No, I told you to go make a left. So even though I'm 50 plus years old, I'm mother-in-law twice, now I'm grandma technically, and then he still feel like he can just come in and brutally talk and just be, not nice. Again, he was sick as a dog, and then my brother called, oh, we're going to the ambulance right now. Can you go meet him in 2 hours in the hospital? Okay, I'll be there. I was with him for 2 days, day and night. And then the minute he gotten better, the last thing he said, you still don't know how to cook, do you? After 30 minutes ago, he eat the meal and he's like, thank you for making me this fat-free sabji and roti and all this. Take this food with you as you leave. I'm like, what just happened to him? He was nice for 2 days. I dropped everything the minute I got to hear, oh, they take him to the by ambulance, meet him in the hospital, 30 minutes.
What you're describing, everybody here can describe the exact same thing. That happens to everybody because you're with other people. Because people are will always surprise you. It's nothing new. So don't lose any. Don't waste any thoughts over such ridiculous things.
Right.
Wake up in the morning, do your sadhana, put your concentration on God, and all these things that happen to you, they're the same things that happen to every single other person. And that's called worldliness. Don't give it any thought. Don't think about such things. All of us have been hurt. All of us have been misunderstood. All of us have been attacked. All of us have had others that try to destroy us, others that hate us. People, there are all kinds of people in the world. And who cares? I don't care about what anybody thinks at all. Let them think what they think. They're free to think what they think and free to do what they do. And I never listened to my father growing up. And I never took his advice. So why would I take his advice when I was an adult? So everybody makes their own choices. All those friends and relatives of yours, they're all free to make their own choices. Why would we even? We might laugh at it, but don't ever give it any serious thought. You're just putting your own self in the wrong direction. Do your sadhana in the morning and keep your concentration on your sadhana all through the day, and that doesn't include other people. Your sadhana is you and God. I don't have any problems with your relatives. I don't have any problems with your friends. Why is that? Why don't I have any problems with them? If I was there, if I moved into your house and you and I went everywhere, and with meeting your relatives and your friends, you think I would have any problems? I wouldn't have any problems. And I would be in the same situations you're in. I would be at the same people that you're with. Family, work. Suppose I was there with you. Would any of it bother me? Well, you could say, well, of course it won't bother you because you're not family. Well, isn't family, isn't that what worldliness is? You're born into a family. You're born into worldliness. And our families can, in many cases, hurt us more than anybody else can. Our families can be very treacherous, very mean, and can misunderstand us, try to control us, try to manipulate us, want us to do what they think we should do. And if you have children, then the grandparents want you to raise the grandchildren the way that they want their grandchildren to be raised. And they have parents. Their parents are probably dead now, but their parents wanted them to do their parents wanted them to do, and then their parents wanted them to do what their parents wanted to do. It goes on and on and on and on and on. You gotta break out of that cycle. You don't leave the cycle to break it. You stay in the cycle, but you break it. You break it with your intention. You wake up in the morning, you do your sadhana, and you continue your sadhana all through the day. You take your sadhana with you. When other people are thinking about family problems, you're thinking about something you heard in satsang or something you read in the Gita, and you're thinking about those things. You're not thinking about worldly things.
You're right, Gurudev. Thank you. But it's
I-
hard to
I-
accept. It's hard to accept. I'm not gonna lie. When I go and see that in the real world, it's challenging sometimes.
I have a very large family. Everybody in my darsana groups are my family. So I have a large family, and every person has their family, and they have their strengths, and they have their weaknesses, and they confide in me. So I become a part of their life, and I'm exposed to their problems. I'm exposed to their successes, and I communicate with probably 50 people every day, counseling, all sorts of communications. It could, but I don't. Um, I could let a lot of that bother me. Some of it does bother me, especially if one of you is being mistreated or being hurt. It does bother me. But I know that okay, I'm bothered now because somebody's suffering, somebody's hurt, somebody's in a hard situation they can't get out of. But I know, even though I'm feeling hurt because they're hurt, I know it's temporary. I know that life is eternal, and this is just a little slice of life, a little segment of life, and so it isn't forever. Even though I don't like people that I care about, people that I love to be hurt. I know that their hurt is only temporary, and so you should think around the same lines with your family. I don't have any good thoughts about my brother. I mean, he really was that bad. I don't have any good thoughts about it. It's just unfortunate, but I don't dwell on it. I don't think, oh, this is terrible. You can't even think of anything good about your brother, which is exceptionally bad. But I don't dwell on it, and it doesn't mean anything at all, really. So why would I think about something that's not important? And then what about all the people that love me and care about me? Why would I think about my brother when I can think about all the dozens and dozens of people that care about me and love me and say good things about me? Appreciate that. So for you, Seema, in particular, there's a lot of good things. A lot of good things. So,
That's true, Gurudev. The blessing is I have you in my life and the community, yes, for sure. But it came out of, I guess, a lot of the thing is, I have to face them in 2 weeks. My grandbaby have a birthday party, and I was, because I'm the outsider, right? The bad. So there, 99.9 will be non-faith people will be there, and it would be a true test for me because I'm going there to support my son and my grandbaby, not for anybody else. And my ex will be there with his wife. And as much I like to think it's easy to accept, but it can be hard to accept sometimes to see all this. Um, so that's what it is. And then other side, I have my dad and my brother like barking my ears. Like, this happened because of you. And I given my best values to my son, so he changed.
If I was in your situation, I'm imagining myself in your situation because I do have enough life experience to understand what it's going to be like. I personally, I would find it fun. I would find it fun to go in 2 weeks. I would hold my head high, and I would know a secret that nobody else there knows. And I would just be kind of inside laughing at everybody and just observing the silliness of their actions. And I'm serious. I would find it fun. I would like to go where there's that type of thing going on. I'd find it quite fun and humorous. And then remember, never ever ever try to explain yourself, because I know you try to explain yourself, and you probably spend a lot of time trying to explain yourself and defend yourself. Don't ever defend yourself, and don't ever explain yourself, ever, not to anybody. As soon as you try to explain yourself, you're putting yourself in a position of weakness. And people like that, they can sense weakness, like a wild animal senses weakness, and a wild animal seeks weakness. They pounce on their prey and they destroy their prey. They rip their prey apart. So people like that are they know what your weaknesses are, and they prey on your weaknesses. So don't show them any weakness. Show them strength. But as soon as you start to try to explain anything, it's gonna lead to more and more trouble. And there's a power in being silent. There's a power in not explaining yourself and knowing the inner secret that you have. You know the secret, and there's a power of knowing. And as soon as you start explaining, it weakens you. That power starts to go out of you, goes away. Yes, honey?
Guruji, I was thinking when these things happens, in my mind, I would think that I am caring. I want to clear the misunderstanding. And if I don't care for these people, whoever, is there, they will get hurt again, something like that. Is it all invalid thoughts then? Like, one is to clear the misunderstanding that, I was trying to be a friend, don't take it otherwise. And then I genuinely do care that, don't bother with it because I think they will suffer if I stop caring.
Well, you don't have to stop caring, but you do have to stop explaining. What I said earlier about explaining yourself, that has to stop. Don't ever do that. It's one of the worst things to do. So people can have misunderstandings about you. I'm thinking about all the misunderstandings that just in particular that my brother perpetuated to my parents. He would tell my parents all sorts of things, and not once did I ever try to correct him. Not once did I ever defend myself. I never bothered. Not once did I ever try. Not once did I ever defend myself from him. And I would never ever try to correct something in a misunderstanding about me from him. It would be totally a waste of time, because I knew that all of this was coming from him and had nothing to do with me. But I never, all the stories he told about me to my family, I never corrected him. I never said anything about myself to correct the misunderstandings ever, not even once. Through all those years, decades, I never did. There's no reason to. Eventually, if you do, eventually you'll realize that it'll never get you anywhere, because people are the way they are, and it's because of the choices that they've made in the past, and so you're not going to change them. They're going to have to change themselves at some time. Whatever they're accusing you of, or however way that they're looking at you in whatever bad way, it's because of the badness inside them. It really has nothing to do with you. They're looking at their own selves.
Gurudev?
Yes, Kanika?
No, Payal. Oh, sorry.
Oh, Pyle.
Yeah,
Yeah, Pyle.
sorry. Gurudev, just wanted to share something that once in the past we were having this discussion, similar to what Seema has been talking about relations and all. And you had given me a very beautiful example of Yogananda ji, that had he succumbed to what his elder brother did to him, we wouldn't have had a Paramahansa amongst us. So these things happen to him too. So
Yeah, happened to everybody. It happened to Ramakrishna in real vicious ways, a lot. And Nandamaya Ma happened to her. Sarada Devi, Ramakrishna's mother, her whole entire life. It was all nothing but family problems. And she just went about her business and her loving, caring, or indifferent way, and continued to help those that needed help. It would be good to read her story of her life. It would be very encouraging. I found it very encouraging about the way that she lived. In particular, Sarada Devi. Also read any Ramakrishna book. Usually in the front, they give a little history about his father and his mother. Also read that, all the terrible wrongs that were done to them, and how they handled these things. And we're talking really terrible things. I mean, a lot of you have experienced terrible things at the hands of your family, but his father in particular experienced really bad things. And Narendra Swami Vivekananda also is growing up, all the hardships he went through, all the accusations. So it's encouraging when we're in the midst of such things to read the stories of others that we respect. It gives us guidance and encouragement.
Like that, Swamiji.
Yes, Kanika?
So, what I was thinking is that, is it not right to protect oneself, to fight back? Yes, not explain, but if somebody is hurting you, harming you, isn't it my right to protect myself? Am I doing the right thing by just forgiving? I mean, forgiveness is for yourself, but just by being there. I mean, sometimes you have to give a response, and
Well,
in the
Right.
Sorry. So in the process of protecting yourself, the goodness in yourself too, not the egoic self, but also the goodness in you, you have to stand by yourself. And if in that process they get hurt, then they get hurt. Should I kind of try to think I'm a saint when I'm getting harmed, um, and not stand up for myself and protect myself?
Well, of course, it depends on the situation, but I've never felt. Um, I, I would say I've never protected myself. If any bad came my way, I would I would take it and say, go ahead and uh, give it all to me. Give me the best bad you can possibly do, and I would just take it upon myself without protecting myself or without complaining about it. That's what I've always done. But in the terms of protecting yourself in other ways, like protecting your assets, for example, protecting your money, protecting your family, protecting your uh, uh, possessions that are yours that you need for your life. You would definitely protect all of that. Um, which I've always done in business and partnerships in business. There's all of these happen in your partnerships in business too, and there can be dishonesty, there can be lies, there can be all sorts of things. So if I'm using business as an example. A business is an asset, and you're trying to uh, increase the size of the asset, and so it's not uncommon for a business partner to uh, try to increase their stake, even though you're 50-50, more than yours. It's kind of human nature too. So that one, I had that happen to me on many occasions, but they never were able to. I would let it happen. I would have to do whatever is necessary without making a fuss, without making an argument. I would do whatever was necessary uh, to not allow that to happen. And so that never happened. But that requires you to be sensitive, to be aware of your surroundings, and to be intuitive as to other people's intentions, so that you can protect yourself in that way. Um, that could be legally, or it could just be moving the chess pieces around to where you're going to not be overrun. I'm referring to business. But,
You,
all these problems don't have to be your problems. You don't have to take ownership of them, and remind yourself that you came here one day, and someday you're going to leave, and we can leave here at any time. We don't know when that time is. Um, so what does it really matter? And then be kind to others. Other people can be really mean to you, but you can be kind to them. Everybody at uh, uh, Ananda was very open to me giving satsang. It was just the leaders of the Delhi. It was only the leaders that were against it. All the congregation, the members, they weren't against it. It was just the ones that were in charge. And I was extremely nice to all of them. I knew who they were. I knew which ones were against me talking, and they came to the talk, to the satsang, because they wanted to see what I was going to say. But I was, even though I could tell what their thoughts were, I was very very nice to them before the satsang, and most everybody's attitude was changed by the end of the satsang, and there were Quite a few people cried. I didn't think they had ever heard a satsang like that before. So most satsangs are just for Kriya yogis. It's the repetition of the sayings of Yogananda. They'll read something that Yogananda said, and they'll have their ceremonies there. It's surprising that how few Kriya yogis have ever attended satsang. Most of them haven't. Meaning, somebody before them speaking of their spiritual experiences, their experiences. Very few Kriya yogis have heard that. When Yogananda gave satsang, it all came from his experiences. Occasionally, very occasionally, he might repeat something that Sri Yukteswar said. But how often did he do that? Hardly ever. It was all his experiences. So why would it be any different now? Why are we just repeating what Yogananda said? It's good to repeat what he said, but it shouldn't be the whole presentation. Satsang should be mostly from your experience. Okay, that's it for today.
Thank you,
And
Gurudev. Thanks.
see everybody tomorrow. May you all be problem free. May all your relatives get off your back.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Guruji.
That's it.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Sadgurudev.
Thank you, Gurudev. Thank you, Gurudev.
That's it.
गुरुजी ओम सत प्रणाम गुरुजी ओम सत सत
That's it.
That's it.